time for Two Guys and a Goalie with Dustin Nielson, Matt Kassian, and the goalie, Joaquin Gage.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Two Guys and a Goalie, presented by GS Construction, setting the industry standard for 50 years with quality, efficiency, and safety driving their success. GS Construction has a foundation built on teamwork, and now they want you to become a part of the team. Visit www.gsconstruction.ca, click Ready to Work, or you can just visit their page at Indeed.ca. And with the Next Up Person program at GS Construction, it's not just a job, it is a career. So check them out one more time, www.gsconstruction.ca. We will have a guest on Two Guys and a Goalie today, as Hart from PuckPedia is going to join us in about 33 minutes. He'll be by around 12:40. So any questions that we do have about offer sheets, about the salary cap, about where the Oilers can be at puck drop on opening night to the salary cap, and this is the guy, this is the genius, I should say, behind PuckPedia. And he's going to join us to break it all down, and we'll see how it goes. I was planning on talking about the history of captains on the Toronto Maple Leafs today with Austin Matthews about to get the C, but things have obviously changed. So we've got Matt Kassian and Joaquin Gage with us. As soon as Zach says they're good to go, we will bring them in. All right. Let's see. We've been having some echoing issues, but hopefully we're good today. Cass, what's going on, buddy? How you doing, man?
I'm good. Say my belly's still full. I'm buying some Gager wieners on the weekend. So.
Oh, don't worry. We're going to start with you on the weekend. Hey, Gager, do we not have to discuss the obvious here or what?
Yeah, full dad mode. Dad mode with the whole ensemble. And the only thing, and I didn't know, did you sport, like, was the fanny pack there? Was it back on the seat too?
It was in the seat. It was in the seat. I'll rock it. I'm not scared. No, you know what's funny is my wife was even making fun of my outfit as I left. She's like, "You look horrible. What are you wearing?" I'm like, "I don't really care right now." Like, my jean shorts, I got my elk shirt.
How often are you rolling
hat.
jean shorts, Cass? I gotta know. Like, is this a regular thing, or were you just
Jean
like, I'm
shorts?
gonna be funny today. I'm gonna wear jeans? Because were they like tailored at the bottom, or were they like stringy and like loose at the bottom?
They're cut off, so they're a little stringy at the bottom.
Oh my god, unbelievable!
Yeah, and I had my pit vipers on. And the thing is they're not even real pit vipers. They're fake pit vipers. They're my minivan glasses that just stay in the minivan. And I didn't bring my other glasses, so I'm like, well, I guess I'm wearing these. And so I just went with it. But yeah, apparently it was a real dad look. But
I wish we had like a slow-mo of you getting out of the minivan with like it like starts at your feet and like you're getting out and you got your jean shorts on and you're badass coming out of this minivan. That'd be great. God, I'd love that. That'd be real nice. Real nice.
It was awesome. And you know what? They won at home, finally.
They did.
There's something to it.
My kids were pissed. They've been like Marshall must have been to about a dozen Elks home games now. And I don't know if he's ever had a chance to see them win. He was just like, Daddy, they always lose when I'm there. I was like, well, you got to get season tickets and go to every game, son. So did you end up did you go to Gager's concession and get a Gager wiener or what?
I did. We got a couple Gager wieners.
Very
and
nice.
Then there were some people, and then towards the end when they were people weren't buying them anymore, I went and grabbed a couple more, and nice. Yeah, so it was nice. It was good. Gager was a hero. He was a hero. He was an absolute hero to the kids. So.
Oh, the people in the broadcast booth absolutely love him too. It's just it's incredible. Gager, there are two sizes of wieners there, hey? Is a small wiener and a big wiener? Yeah, the big wiener's good. I love the big wiener.
Hey, who doesn't love the big wiener, Dusty? Right? That's it does the job. But I think that we had some different sandwiches. They had the mac and cheese sandwich. I think I gave one of you guys one of those. I'm not sure.
We had one. I didn't eat it. So my mother-in-law who was there had it, and then the kids took a couple bites because they love mac and cheese. So they were like, yeah, it's garlic bread and mac and cheese.
Yeah, all right. That's what it is.
Got to be happy with that then. Anyway, they got a big win.
Nothing wrong with that.
Everybody was there. We were never together at the same time, but everybody's there at Commonwealth. It was actually a glorious day. It seemed like did your girls have fun, Cass? Like whenever my kids go, they have an absolute riot
They
at those
had an
games.
absolute blast.
Yeah.
Absolute blast. I had to. So the kids got on the camera once on the Jumbotron, which was just made their day.
Oh, yeah.
My oldest in particular. So they actually made signs, like they spelt out Elks with the letters.
Nice.
So they had signs that were going, and my oldest was, anytime anyone was cheering, was like yelling and screaming, and not kind of yelling and screaming, but like she still doesn't understand what's going on in the field. Like she kind of knows, okay, you get a touchdown if you get the ball into the end zone, and the other team doesn't understand the downs and first down, like doesn't get a lot of it. But she absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. And then, loves the mascots like most kids, loves the cheerleaders, and was trying to copy whatever they were doing when they were dancing. I'm like, you don't do that. But so she was up there dancing. Omi, so that's my mom. We call her Omi.
Okay.
The kids do. So she brought them pom-poms. So they had pom-poms, and they had the little Elks horns that they were all wearing. So they had an absolute blast. They loved it. Loved it.
Yeah, I mean, we have a little bit of a partnership with the Elks. So, I mean, if you think sponsors or not, but I'm telling you, man, kids love going to the games. My kids absolutely love it. They got on the big screen a couple weeks ago doing YMCA. Elizabeth thought it was the greatest thing ever. Like, they absolutely love it. The tailgate's great. It's a really fun time. And got new ownership coming. They started Trey Ford last game. He's 2-0 now. He's not going to play this week, but I don't think he's going to be out very long either. So lots of positive things there for that organization right now. As for the other organization in town, we certainly get to this. Hire it or fire it coming up. We'll get to some of that Leaf stuff. I'll talk some Deadpool stuff, some other stuff during hire it or fire it. But Gage, you were on with me this morning when we saw the news from Saravalli. The St. Louis Blues, if for some reason you've been living under a rock all day, the St. Louis Blues have offer-sheeted Philip Broberg, who's 23 years old, at a contract of $4.58 million. That's the maximum offer that would only require a second-round pick. That's a 2-year deal at $4.5 million per. And then the maximum offer that would only require a third-round draft pick is Dylan Holloway at $2.29 million on a 2-year contract as well. Holloway is 22. So these are the two youngest Oilers that would be on the roster right now. Dylan Holloway's 22. Broberg's 23. Cash, your initial thoughts on the Oilers leaving themselves vulnerable and getting attacked here by the St. Louis Blues?
Should have got a deal done earlier. Isn't that the big thing? You shouldn't have held out and tried to use, because they're doing it, and teams do this. They try to use that RFA power to say, you know what, there's restricted guys. We have all the leverage. That's what the teams view it as. We have all the leverage. They don't have arb rights. Let's stick it to them and try to get a deal on these guys and force them into a contract. And the longer they wait, the more impatient they're going to get. And we might get them for cheap, which I totally understand approaching it that way. That's how a lot of teams do it. But you waited too long. And I mean, Holloway, I'm not. And at that number, like, I'm not completely shocked by Dylan Holloway in that contract offer. I'm not. That doesn't shock me. The Broberg one, for that amount of money, that's crazy. That's a crazy amount of money to throw it as an offer sheet. So the Oilers now in a tough spot with this. I can't see how they retain Broberg, but I saw it and I was like, wow. Holloway, I was like, okay, I can understand that. Broberg, I was like, woof, that is a lot of money for a guy that's still largely unproven.
I don't know what's happened here, because this morning, I mean, this all kind of, I don't know if anything's finalized, but just checking out PuckPedia now, it says that the Oilers' current cap space is -7, little over 7 million.
I think they've put, and we'll have Hart from PuckPedia on. I'm going to figure it all out. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if the Oilers have matched or not, but yeah, we were talking about this morning, Dusty. It was, I think, too much focus was on the Draisaitl contract, and Cass laid it out perfectly. Teams do believe they're in a much better position with restricted the restriction of movement of players at a certain age, and they just have these guys. Well, look, this is what you have. This is what you pick. Kind of thing happened with McLeod, right? Like a couple years ago, before he kind of had to sign the minimum, because that's all that was left. And I'm sure he probably would have signed an offer sheet if it did come his way. So they left themselves vulnerable. I think you'll see a lot more teams doing things differently now that we've seen what the St. Louis Blues are capable is not the wrong term, but willing to do to make their team better.
780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. If you're listening on TuneIn or iHeart or at EdmontonSportsTalk.com and would like to chime in, that is where you can text us. And over in the Nasty Chat, obviously, people are fired up. If you are watching over on YouTube today, hammer the thumbs up for us. Sub to the channel if you haven't already. We'd appreciate that as we try to make a push up towards 10,000 subs. I've got lots of questions that come from this. And I guess the first one, Cash, you've already kind of answered, but I'd like to come back around to it anyway. And that is, like, how do the Oilers allow this to happen? Like, and it's, to me, it comes across as cockiness in the fact that, like, well, we're going to squeeze those two guys and we're not, because if not, if you were worried, if you were legitimately thinking that what happened today could happen, you would have not signed Henrique when you already had Skinner or Arvidsson, or you would have not signed Arvidsson and just got Skinner or Henrique, or you would not have given Corey Perry $1 million. You wouldn't have put yourself right up against the cap the way they are if you were properly planning for the possibility of this not happening. Like, this is poor management. This is mismanagement of the situation.
Well, has there now here's a question. Has there ever been a team that's offer sheeted two guys that were RFAs on the same team?
Great question. I'm trying to think if that's ever happened. Let me bring up the list of the history. I don't think.
I know you called it mismanagement. I don't know if it's mismanagement. Again, like, a lot of teams squeeze guys like this because, again, they have all the leverage from an RFA standpoint. And some teams don't do it as much. Some GMs, that's where they try to save their dollars, is they try to squeeze RFAs, guys that maybe aren't deserving quite yet of that massive contract, and they're trying to keep costs down. But yeah, I would be curious if it's ever happened by one team offering the same team two guys at the same time. I can't think of any situation where that's happened before. So I'm hesitant to call it mismanagement. But how do you let it happen is you just tried to squeeze guys too much. And that's on you. I don't necessarily think it's mismanagement, but it's a mistake. It's a mistake. Like, you should have had one of the guys done, Holloway in particular, because I think that's the easier one to get done. And should he have been a higher priority than Corey Perry? My answer is yes. He should have been a higher priority than Corey Perry. If you needed to get an extra $500,000 to get a guy done, Dylan Holloway is going to be, or maybe at that time, who knows now, but was going to be a bigger part of your team moving forward and the bigger part of the future of your team moving forward. So, yeah, I mean, it's shocking that it was the same team, two guys at the same time. But Edmonton's going to have to look at this and, maybe it changes a little bit. I mean, even league-wide, beyond just Edmonton, league-wide, this moving forward could change teams' approach to how hardline are we going to try to take it with these RFAs to force them to sign deals. And I'll just use a local product as an example, like a Matthew Robertson, who had a call up. He's a Sherwood Park kid, had a call up to New York. New York's got a deep D, so he didn't get to play, but, was on that, okay, this is a huge year for him, was an RFA coming off his first deal, and, they put the boots to him. And New York does it to guys all the time in that RFA status where it's like, no, they are going to play absolute hardball with these guys and not give them much. So it's not just Edmonton that does this. Like, this is league-wide that it's happened, but you better believe that this is going to be a massive wake-up call, regardless of the outcome, for teams and how they handle these guys and try to get them done early.
You are right on the league-wide guys try to squeeze these RFA guys with no arb rights. I totally agree with that. I'd have to look back on the history of it, though, and see, are they doing it when they're already over the cap and another team's looking at it going, hey, I mean, these guys are there for the taking because they're screwed on the cap right now anyway, right? Like, that's where, yeah, you can play the game with them, but when you're also a team that's can't even fit them in, even if they sign for whatever you want to sign, I think you make Gager, would you not make yourself more vulnerable? And that, like, if the others are sitting there with $6 million in cap space and trying to squeeze these two guys, I don't know if a team's going to bother going after him because they got the cap space to just automatically match. Now you're looking at it going, holy smokes, there's a legitimate chance here that they're going to get Philip Broberg for $4.5 million on a 2-year deal for nothing more than a second-round pick and actually aggressively go after it. Gage, what do you think? And then I do have the history of The offer sheet history is hilarious because just a bunch of spite signings in some situations. So we'll get to that. But go ahead, Gager.
Yeah, I think this was a very savvy strategic move to go after a team that you knew was right up against it. Look, I still think just the talk about Leon, they were so. It seems like the eye wasn't on the prize. Like I was trying to look through. I haven't found another team kind of in a similar situation that the Edmonton Oilers were in. This is if you're a St. Louis fan, I like the two possible pickups. We talked about their kind of aging defense of the Blues. This interjects a younger, still unproven, but did equate himself so good in the playoffs. But yeah, this is what you kind of look for, right? And I think over the past few years, so many teams were so up against the cap that there was probably a lot more possibilities on it. But also on the other side, probably a lot of GMs think no one's going to do this because everyone's pretty tight up against it, right? So it didn't. It was kind of a gentleman's handshake in Boca Raton at just, hey, let's not do this over the next few years, and maybe the peace treaty's worn off.
I got a bunch more questions about this, but just quickly, this is great. July 21st, 1991, Dave Christian was with the Boston Bruins, got the offer sheet from the St. Louis Blues. Now, okay, so this is what happened. I always find this type of stuff fascinating. So July 21st, the Blues signed Dave Christian to an offer sheet. Then on July 25th, the Bruins signed Glenn Featherstone of St. Louis to an offer sheet, which was not matched. Then Dave Christian and a third-round pick and a seventh went the other way. Also on July 25th, Dave Tomlinson signed an offer sheet, part of the Featherstone accepted compensation. Like, I have no idea what was going on that day. And then you've got, what was the other one? There's some interesting, when the Calgary Flames signed Teemu Selanne to an offer sheet. That was a good one. Where's the other one that I wanted to get to? There was another situation that was somewhat similar. Where is it? Oh, yeah, right here. Yeah, this is the other one that seems kind of spitey, if I recall. David Backes signed an offer sheet with the Vancouver Canucks, 3 years at $7.5 million. St. Louis matched. And then 7 days later, the Blues signed Steve Bernier to an offer sheet, and the Canucks had to match. So it's just like the old, oh, yeah? You're going to try to take Backes? Well, we're going to try to take Bernier. So, I mean, it's kind of funny. So, yeah, okay, but the other things you look at this here. This is another question. I see some people already talking about it in the nasty chat. You can text us at 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. Is this a shot from Peter Chiarelli at his old club, the vice president of hockey ops with the St. Louis Blues? Cass, are we looking too much into this? Or is Chiarelli going, ooh, we got all this cap space. Torrey Krug's going to be on the LTIR as well. St. Louis can definitely afford this. And he's looking back at the very cap situation he started to sewer years ago. And he takes advantage of it here.
Screw those guys.
That's the all-time lay in wait and get your revenge at some point, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Like, there has to be some of it. You think it has to be, doesn't it? Like, there has to be some of Peter Chiarelli being like, hey, we can stick it to these guys. Let's stick it to these guys.
Just a little bit.
Let's do it. For sure. Has to be. Absolutely has to be.
Yeah, this was his plan all along, Dusty. This is what he wanted. He wanted this is years in the making of Chiarelli sewering the Oilers with this. I think there it is. I think there's a little bit to that with this. He didn't he get fired from the road or he got asked to leave in the second period or something like that. Like, that was a kind of disgraceful way to go. But I don't know. What I heard was he was a bit on an island as a GM too with the Oilers.
Chiarelli, when he was here, like at the tail end or like all the time, yeah.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of. It didn't. I mean, the Oilers were kind of struggling, obviously, and it just seemed like he was separating himself, and that's kind of what I heard. Anyway, who knows if it's true or not? But I mean, it goes no further than the room, the the Sky Suite or whatever. And if you look straight across from where the press boxes are, Daryl Cates designed that room for his management team to go watch the games there. Chiarelli liked it, but when he left, Holland hated it because he's more of a man of the people, and, wheel and deal in the press box, and he wanted to be on the other side in the press box where he could talk to people and things like that. So, it's just two different guys, but definitely one was left on different terms than the other one, and I think there is a little bit of I can get back at my old team here.
Let's get to more of your questions over in the Nasty Chat and on the text line, 780-218-9999. Guys, do you think this would have happened if Holland was still GM? Is this because of the Bowman hiring? Cass, any thoughts on that? I don't know if it's because of Bowman hiring, but would have Holland handled the roster differently through free agency with Jeff Jackson? I think that's more of a fair question, maybe.
Yeah, it's possible. And if you look at the RFAs in general, where Ken Holland has more experience, even, it still makes me kind of scratch my head a little bit for as good as Jeff Jackson has done with some things. Just as an example, some things have been a little bit like, well, maybe Ken Holland would have handled it differently. You look at like the Carter Savoy, Matt Savoy situation where you don't sign and don't QO Carter Savoy, and then you trade for his brother right after you don't qualify an RFA. And there's an RFA where it's just like, okay, you're letting a guy walk, which ultimately it's your decision to do so, but you just kind of have to go, I wonder if it would have been handled a little bit differently. It's quite fair to say. Now, again, like it's such a bizarre situation where we just haven't seen it very much or haven't seen it at all, where two offer sheets for the same guy, or for the two offer sheets for the same team from the same team. So yeah, you'd have to think maybe they would have got it done. Again, like when you're looking at priorities, I mean, Leon Draisaitl is still your biggest priority, still the most important. And so that's where for Stan Bowman coming in, the attention would have been for where Jeff Jackson, the attention probably is. And they just, I don't know. Sorry, I'm kind of thinking out loud as I'm processing this still, but you do have to wonder, with the experience of Ken Holland, would he have tried to get something done sooner with those guys? I think that's a fair question to ask.
Gager, what do you think? Do you think it would have been handled a little bit differently? Wouldn't have been as aggressive in adding like Skinner at the end of everything, or keeping Henry?
Definitely two different schools of thought.
Yeah,
would they be different? Possibly. The trying to get the band back together. I'm trying to think, like right at the end of the season, it was like, okay, how are they going to keep these guys? I think we all talked about, we didn't think Henrique was going to be back, right? That was the first one. And then that domino fell, and Perry and, the two big free agent signings. So, I mean, I can understand the focus of bringing in what you think you were lacking from the previous season, and even more so like they did. But, probably a lot of I don't think negligence is the right word, but like Cass mentioned, RFAs, this is where teams squeeze these guys. We're not too far removed from when they basically did the same thing with McLeod, where he was the last guy to sign, and I think he signed like a day into camp, but it was just for what was remaining essentially on the cap still, right? So he had absolutely no bargaining power. I think for us, and for talking about hockey in general, I think this is great. I think this has been an underused tool that GMs have never used. I always thought there was too much coercion with GMs. They lessen the penalties, obviously, for signing these guys. And it's funny talking to Trev after the show today, Dusty, and I was saying, like, last year, if you were to tell me that, or at the beginning of the year, if you were going to get a second rounder for Broberg, I probably would have entertained it.
Yeah.
But now I'm thinking, not now.
Well, this is interesting. And we'll get to Hired or Fired here, and then Hart is going to join us in about 10 minutes. So if you do have any questions on the salary cap, offer sheets. Fire those over, and we'll get to those with Hart, assuming we can get him connected properly. KDK texts in and says, poor mismanagement is a horrible take, Dusty. Broberg hasn't pissed a thing yet, didn't even play in the regular season last year. Holloway can be easily replaced. If those guys don't want to be here, then I'll buy their Uber to the airport. Use these assets to make the team better. So it's interesting. Look, if you want to disagree with my mismanagement take, that's fine. Is it a horrible take? I'll probably stand up and say I don't view it as a horrible take, because the bottom line is you put your organization in a spot where you might not be able to match on these offers. And that's because of the fact, like, it's not like the Oilers were, how many guys did they sign in unrestricted free agency? 6? 7?
Yeah.
You're telling me you couldn't have not made these two guys a little bit of a priority to make sure that this did not open up? So, yeah, I don't know if it's a horrible take, but if you disagree with it, I understand partially where you're coming from. Here's the weird thing now, is that, Cass, any hope they have of matching one or both of these guys basically involves Evander Kane going on the LTIR. I mean, that hand has to be forced right. I know Stoff said yesterday that, it's trending in that direction. That'd be an LTIR to start the season. I heard something similar on the weekend when I was down at the rink. I think Rashog tweeted something about how it's not 100% determined just yet, but Evander Kane's athletic pubalgia, or whatever it is, kind of holds the ticket to the future of Broberg and Holloway. Is that not a bizarre twist here we weren't expecting today?
Yeah, well, for both of them, yeah. But it just kind of the amount, like, if you're wanting to now hold on to Broberg, like, the amount of that contract, I mean, that eats up the entirety of that, where you were still hoping, if Kane's on LTIR, you're able to work into maybe try to find another right shot D, maybe move one of Kulak or CC out. Like, you're looking at options. You have more options, but now it's those options have changed, because you now have to think about Broberg. Now, maybe you decide to let him walk because it is so expensive, and that could ultimately be the choice. But yeah, your hands are in the fate of athletic pubalgia and its severity or non-severity. And in the hands, to a certain extent, of a guy that who knows exactly where he's at mentally, emotionally right now, and banged up in Evander Kane. So it's, yeah, you've created a little bit of a mess by not getting stuff done. Again, I would agree with that texture, and I don't think, well, I agree in that I don't think it's gross mismanagement. So I wouldn't say it's gross mismanagement, because there's no way you thought that this was going to happen. But it is mismanagement and trying to squeeze too much out of two guys. And, if you want to say it's cap mismanagement, you could say it's a little bit of that with the amount of guys you sign. But at the same time, I look at that, Dusty. Sorry, I'm just going here, but
yeah, no, give her, buddy.
And I go, like, the Skinner signing, for wanting to win a Stanley Cup right now, would you rather have Jeff Skinner, or would you rather have at $3 million, or would you rather have Dylan Holloway at 2 point whatever? And I'm like, I still probably taking Jeff Skinner in a win today mode. Now, from a long-term future, it's like, well, yeah, I want Holloway around. He's a young guy, took some big steps late in the season, big steps in playoffs, but yeah, I don't know, guys. It's just bizarre. This is crazy.
Okay, Drew,
crazy.
one more for you, then we'll get to hired or fired, and then we're hoping to have Hart from PuckPedia pop on here. Does this change the way you look at Broberg and Holloway at all? I mean, it shouldn't, because they're doing business. They're trying to get paid. I get it. Their agent would direct them in this position. If they come back to the room, I think all the guys will sort of understand. I know there's already been that lingering Oilers are at odds with Broberg in the past type of thing, but Gager, what do you think of this?
No, I mean, these guys, the understanding of the business aspect of it. I as a player, I wouldn't have any ill will towards these guys if they do both come back. They did what's best for them in these cases. It's life-changing money. Yeah, no, I don't think you'll have anything in that. I know with the Broberg thing, and I spoke about it, I didn't like how he was making about himself when the Oilers were kind of, they were essentially at the bottom of the pile in the regular season before he went down. But this was, how do you say no to this? There's not it's hockey's different, but if you go to any other aspect of employment, no one's saying no to that type of percentage increase in your annual salary. No one is.
One more quick text. So here's one way to think about it, guys. With Henrique and Skinner and Arvidsson, if they help the team win the cup next year, is that better than Holloway and Broberg? If so, then it's like you traded 2 young guys for proven guys at the deadline. So that's a nice way to swing it if you want to.
It's a valid way to look at it, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if you were planning on sacrificing the other 2 guys and not squeezing them out or thinking you're going to get them signed when you put Evander Kane on LTIR or something like that. But we'll see what happens. They got 7 days to match it, which means we'll have 2 more episodes. 2 more episodes of 2 guys in a glove. 1 more episode and then a reaction episode next Tuesday. So we got that going on. All right, let's get the hire it or fire it for GS Construction. If you're looking for work, they've got you. They've got you ready to roll right now. GS Construction is hiring right now. Become a part of their great team today by visiting gsconstruction.ca or find their page over on Indeed.ca. For the past 50 years, the foundation of GS Construction has been built on efficiency, quality, and safety. 3 key pillars there. Take your career to the next level. Join the team at GS Construction. Hart from PuckPedia, scheduled to pop by here in about 5 minutes, I do believe. So hopefully we'll be able to track him down and dive in a little bit more to this this cap situation at least. All right, boys, let's roll with this. The Oilers offseason has gone from an A+ to a B- in the last 3 weeks or so. Hire it or fire it.
I'll hire it. This is just with what's happened today, what they're going to have to deal with, the whole the lingering Leon Draisaitl, the uncertainty of Evander Kane. I think it's gone. Yeah, it could only go one way after after it started. I don't think they could keep this rolling anyway. But I'd say a B- is a good grade for off season with the Oilers right now.
I'm gonna fire it. I'm gonna fire it. I don't think it's dropped that much. It's dropped, but it hasn't dropped that much. Draisaitl, you still have lots of time to get him done. You started talking. It wasn't a big focus, so I don't think it's impacted it as much. I don't think it was gross mismanagement, a crazy situation, but not gross mismanagement. So I still got to go. They've slid a little bit, but I'm still looking at like a B+ or an A, guys. Like they still, I think, did a fantastic job at the trade deadline. Getting Skinner, getting Savoy. With the McLeod deal, like that to me is still huge wins. So yeah, I still think they've done quite well. So I'm going B+ or A. So I got to fire it.
All right, Austin Matthews getting the C won't make a difference in Toronto. Hire it or fire it.
Doesn't make any difference.
Hire it.
What difference is that going to make? Yeah.
Hire it.
Yeah. All right, well, let's follow that up with this then. Signing John Tavares was a major mistake for the Maple Leafs. Hire it or fire it.
Hire it. Way too much money. Way too much money. Hire it.
Hire it. That should have been. That team was built wrong. Should have been a D-man.
I think they were just so excited for the big fish that they didn't think. Wait a second, we already have 3 big fish up front.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you need when you already have 3 big fish? I don't know how to follow that up. I don't know what the reference would be like. 11 medium, 11 little fishes to follow them around and have success. Fish. Yeah, maybe that's what it is. All right, let's go here. Stuart Skinner will be the starting goalie for Canada at the Four Nations face-off. Hire it or fire it.
Jeez, I'm gonna hire it. Aiden Hill, Jordan Binnington.
I was looking at a list earlier today. I don't know if I still have it up.
Does Fleury still get a look or no?
No.
Do you have the list?
No, I don't. No, I don't have the. Can't remember where the list was. But who were the other guys on? It's not an overly impressive list. But Skinner had the best goals, saves above expected on the entire list. So if you're building the Four Nations face-off team based on GSX, he's your guy.
I think he is.
Yeah. Cash, you think so? Did you say hire or fire? Yeah. I think he probably will be. I think he will be. All right, final one. Deadpool can't fit into any other Marvel movies. Hire it or fire it.
I'll fire it. I think he can.
You think you could, eh? Wow.
You can throw him in here. Maybe not like in every scene, but I think he can flop into an alternate timeline somewhere for a bit.
Kaz, have you seen the new one yet? Probably not, eh?
No, I haven't seen it yet. I haven't had a chance.
It's a fun movie. It's a very entertaining movie.
Yeah.
I did like it. I just don't think you could fit him into like.
I probably gotta say, like, I probably gotta fire it. Like, I just don't. I don't think it really fit. Like, you're reaching if you're trying to slide him in.
Yeah, so you're hiring it because it's a Deadpool can't fit in any other Marvel movie. So
yeah. So I'm gonna hire it.
All right, if you want to chime in on this, and I know some of you will because we're all nerds in one way or the other. 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999, or hit us up over in the nasty chat as well. And we'll get to a few more of those. Zach, let us know when we're good to go. All right, we do have Hart from PuckPedia, who really we need some sort of explanation on all of this stuff and what the cap's going to look like. He joins us on Two Guys and a Goalie today, presented by GS Construction. Hart, appreciate the time. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Yeah, exciting day all of a sudden out of nowhere.
Hey, you know what? Before we get to all that, I just got to ask you, what's the traffic been like on the site over, I don't know, like the last 3-4 weeks or so?
Pretty good, pretty good. Although the last week I was thinking, oh, it's slowing down. And I'd sure love some news, and then like bam, it all of a sudden happened today. So it's been good, yeah. Well,
that being said, and I'm not going to get mad at you for taking the bag one day, but let's keep the website going. All right, let's keep the website going. It's of vital importance to all of us right now, especially today.
I've been working on this site for 7 years, so to have more people using it and seeing it, that's kind of the dream. So okay. I don't see me doing anything to not make it a public site.
All right. So, well, thank you for the time today. I mean, there's a lot of different places I guess we could start. First of all, just your thought on a National Hockey League team dropping 2 offer sheets against the same team at the same time.
I've probably read, I don't know, dozens of articles suggesting that over the years, right? It's a common thing in message boards and on Twitter, and to actually see it happen, I'm impressed. Like it makes a lot of sense, not just the dollars, but the terms on both of them, like a 2-year deal. You know, Broberg, would you sign him for that deal? Like if it was 5 years, of course, right? Like that, you could get a good value, but he's going to have to do pretty well to live up to that for just a 2-year contract, right? And same with Holloway. So it was very, very smart. First thing that came to mind was if Holland was still the GM, I don't know if his buddy Armstrong would be doing that.
Yeah. That's, you know what? We were just talking about if it would have been different if Holloway was the GM, and the relationship between those two guys. That's actually a pretty good point, Hart. But they did. He's not the GM anymore. They did decide to pull the trigger on it. What did you think of the value that they gave? Like, we've had a lot of people chiming in today being like, well, there's no way Broberg's worth that much. I know you have comparables and stuff, but what did you think of the value, and what do you think is the best plan of attack here for the Edmonton Oilers right now on how to keep these guys in and still fit in under the cap?
Well, if you're just going to look at what their net contract should be on a 2-year deal, that's more money than they should get on a 2-year deal. But to St. Louis's credit, like they put it right at the point where the compensation isn't really that exciting, right? A second or a third round pick, and the dollar amount though is high for what they're worth. So I mean, they would be overpaid, I would think. Based on the evidence we have so far, they're overpaid. Now, can they live up to it, and can they outperform that contract? Like, of course, if it's possible, but you're counting on them to take a big step forward. Like I said, I think that's why the 2-year term is pretty genius. Like if it was longer term at those numbers, I think the Oilers think, well, yeah, we're tight for the next year or two, but that could end up being a good deal. It like, especially, you know, Broberg is going to have to be a top 4 or 5 defenseman to justify that number. And Holloway is going to have to score, you know, like 10, 12, 15 goals and get consistent minutes to live up to that. So those are, it was a very smart amount that they, both the amount and the term was very smart. And for the Oilers, it's going to be tight. I mean, again, they don't have to do the same thing for both. They could match one and let the other one go. But like they can make it work. The most obvious thing is Kane on LTIR and trade CC. I mean, then that kind of solves the issue. But even without a trade, I mean, Kane on LTIR, they could waive and send down kind of 3 guys and make it work. Like you could pick the guys, but like a Brown, maybe a guy like Perry or someone that's
Perry could go down, right?
Yeah. And another guy, right? Like I model it out. I got with sending 3 guys down and then using a guy like Lavoie as your 12th forward and Kane on LTR. You can get within. I got him within like 30 or 60 grand they have 60 grand of cap space, which again is fine in the short term. But if Kane does come back, that's another issue you're going to have to deal with. But like Louis Lamoriello always says, if you have time, use it. I don't see. First of all, they shouldn't make a decision for the next 2 days. They might as well take their time, see what else is out there. They have 7 days. Again, to me, the obvious thing is trade CC and then Kane on LTR. You still have to do something if Kane comes back, but you have a lot. It's a lot less daunting. But now maybe I'm sure they know what the market. They knew what the market was for CC. I wonder if that changes now that teams know they're a little tighter to do something. But also they can match and they don't have to be cap compliant until the opening day of the season, right? So they can be 10% over the cap in the off season. So like I said, if you have time, use it. They can match and still figure it out over the next month or two.
I'm very kind of young with the site and how it works. I like the layout. It's learning something new a little bit. But is there anything else you can tell us about how can you kind of is there any sort of fantasy seeing if adding a player, subtracting a player, like building your own roster? Can you do anything like that on the site at all?
Yeah, we launched our Puck GM feature about a month and a half ago now. So if you just click Puck GM on the top there, you can create your Oilers roster. So that's where I just modeled out. I sent a few guys down and looked to see how to make them put Kane on LTR, look to see how they're cap compliant. So I think the Puck GM tool is what you're looking for. And most of the rosters I see created today are Oilers rosters and a few St. Louis rosters. So yeah, that's the place to check it all out.
Yeah, I just did it, and I just traded Draisaitl for Huberdeau.
Great idea. Cass, I think Gager was echoing there, but Hart's good to go. Hart, I want to ask you. So you can go 10% over, and then if the plan is to put Kane on the LTIR, you have to be cap compliant opening night with Kane included in it, and then. When he explain that to us on opening night. Yeah. Yes.
So there's 2 ways to start being on LTIR when the season starts. The first is you submit your roster being under the cap without the player on LTIR. So you're a cap compliant team. The player's not on LTIR. Then the next day you put the player on LTIR, and then the amount that you can exceed the cap is the injured player's cap hit minus the cap space. So that's why we see some teams. They'll make moves and send guys up and down right before the opening roster, and maybe they'll be $100 under the cap. So if the Oilers did that, they put Kane on LTIR. Now they can exceed the cap by his $5.125 million less $100. I don't see the Oilers being able to go that method now if they were to match these offer sheets. But when it was looking like maybe they would sign them to 1-year deals, that was certainly a path the Oilers could have gone to put Kane on LTIR. The other option is you start with the player on LTIR when you submit your roster. And when you do that, you can submit a roster that's over the cap by up to that injured player's cap hit. But the trick is, however much you're over when you submit, that now is how much you can exceed the cap. So let's just say, again, this was some scenarios that the Oilers were facing before these offer sheets, but they could submit a roster that was only $3 million over the cap with Kane on LTIR. Then they can only exceed the cap by $3 million. They cannot go up to 5.1 for Kane's cap hit. So again, that's why you see players do some roster moves. Sometimes they sign a player just to have a specific cap hit number to get them over the cap by a certain amount. So however much you're over when you submit, that is your new amount you can go to. And if that isn't Kane's 5.1 million, you lose that difference kind of forever. That's gone. So with the Oilers now, with these offer sheets, if they were to match both, you have to assume they got to go with that second method. So their goal would be to build a roster to start the season that is up to 5.125 million over the cap. That would be their path.
Over the cap, and then that's how much they're allowed. So do you think that's if they match both these guys, is that the likely scenario? That's pretty much.
That would be the only way, unless they traded a CC and do something else. Yeah. And that's in when the Oilers had Clefbaum and Smith in Pastors. That was generally the method that they went. Because again, you had a guy like Cuthblom was 4.1 million. So again, it's hard to get under the cap when you have a guy like that on your cap sheet. So they're used to doing that. They've done it before. And that's why a couple of years ago, I remember Ryan McLeod, I think he signed for like 798 or something, like a very specific number. That was to fit him in so that they would exceed the cap by exactly the amount of the injured players that were going on in LTIR.
Still all confusing to me, but I luckily.
So here's to simplify it now.
Okay.
If you look on PuckPedia, you see like with those contracts, they're 7.225
I see that. Yeah,
million
they're
over the cap.
Yep. Okay.
So they have to make it so that they're only 5.125 million over the cap. That's the simple way.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's to start the season. What happens if that's what they do and then Kane comes back halfway through the season? Well, you have to get under the cap. You have to be cap compliant to remove a guy from LTIR, right? So that's why even if they don't make a trade and they waive a Brown and a Perry and a Stetcher and they just get under the cap with Kane on LTIR, that's great. But if, in January, Kane's healthy, ready to go and nobody else is injured, now you got to shed $5 million to get under the cap. And that's going to be even harder to do than in the offseason. Okay. So LTIR helps you the most if you know the guy is out for the whole season, like a Cuthblom or a Smith.
Like the
guy's coming back partway through.
Yeah.
It's sort of helpful, but you still have another shoe to drop at some point in the season.
Okay, so just last one on Kane, just to clarify with all the stuff that you've laid out for us. And I'm going to say this is for other people, but it's selfishly for me.
You're asking for a friend.
Do you think does Kane have to be on the LTIR for them to be able to match these players?
Without any other trades, he would have to be on LTIR when they submit the opening roster.
All right.
And they would have to waive some other players too.
Yeah. Okay.
Like there's basically 3 players that you would expect to be on the roster would have to be waived, plus Kane on LTIR.
Plus he has to be on the LTIR. So, all right.
They don't make any trades.
Well, I think
that's the asterisk. If they don't make any trades,
you might get a couple of messages from me later this afternoon. just throw it out there. Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. Okay, man. Well, appreciate you popping by and keep up the great work with PuckPedia, man.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot, guys.
All right, there you go. That is Hart from PuckPedia joining us here today. I think you guys were just echoing because he was on because we were all good prior to that. But what did you learn from our chat with Hart?
Extensive knowledge of being cap compliant and the rules on opening day. That's so essentially what he's saying in their situation is, from my understanding, is they're trying to get to 5.125 above the cap for opening day, right?
And right now they are 7 point something.
So yeah, they need to get the cap down that difference of 2 points if Evander Kane is going on LTIR, which probably is, right?
So what is Cody Cece's? Are you have it up there, Gager? Do you have PuckPedia up right now? Okay, so what does Cody Cece make right now?
Cece is at 3.25.
So Kane on LTIR, Cece traded. You can afford Broberg and Holloway at their current numbers. Correct?
Correct.
If not, Kane on LTIR, Perry, Ryan, somebody else down, you may be able to afford these 2 guys at these numbers.
See, and this is where the buyouts hurt, right? Because there's still one more year of the James Neal is 1.9.
Jack Campbell, you've done it again.
And the Soupy Campbell 1.1 this year. And then it jumps up a bit over the next few, but
all right, final say on this show today. Cass, when the puck drops on opening night, are one of or both Holloway and Broberg in the lineup?
I think you got one.
Okay.
If I had to guess, I think you let Broberg walk and you sign Holloway. That's my guess. But that is a guess. I don't know. But I think one of them is.
Gager, what do you think?
God, it's such a gamble if Broberg doesn't. I think Cass is right, but it's wrong. I
think Cass is right, but it's wrong.
I think that's how I'm going.
It's that type of day, man. It's that type of day. I mean, what are you supposed to say about this situation? All right, 2 Guys and Goalies presented by GS Construction. In less than a month, when Two Guys and a Goalie ends, we'll be sending you to the midday show from 1 to 3, and then they will take you through your afternoon and then send you to the Reed Wilkins show from 3 to 6 right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. So if you are listening on TuneIn or iHeart or EdmontonSportsTalk.com, just let it be known that starting in early September, you don't have to go anywhere. If you're watching over on YouTube, I'll be back tomorrow morning with the Nielsen Show. Gage will be in with me again tomorrow morning. We'll obviously have this to discuss. Dave Naylor's going to join us. Andy Strickland's going to be by from St. Louis to talk about the evil side of this. And I think Matt Kramal will be on tomorrow as well. So this is perfect for Edmonton Sports Talk. I mean, this is great stuff today. This has been a lot of fun. Shout out to Peter Chiarelli for being a hero.
When's the last time you had breaking news like this during your show, Dusty? Like massive.
I mean, that alone was incredible. So yeah, thank God the Blues are an hour ahead. So that worked out real nice. All right, huge shout out to the crew over at GS Construction for presenting Two Guys and a Goalie. Gager, Cass, we'll talk to you guys on Thursday. All right.
Later, boys.
All right, see you guys later. There we go. Two Guys and a Goalie. We are out of here.